Oh, yep, it's on the wrong camera. You guys see what I... Salt and vinegar chips, Mountain Dew, and pizza. Alright. So, I'm a little more prepared today. Where'd they go? I say that and I lost them. I found them. We got notes today. So we're a little more prepared. We're going to throw them right there. Whew. So we didn't get hit with a tornado yet. I was out trying to do a little bit of this earlier. And, yeah, no tornado. We're in the house now. It's nice and chill. You can see all the wife's plants behind me. She's got a lot of plants. A lot of plants. There's a little turtle cage back there, too. I call him, he's like this big. But you can't really see him. I can show you guys if you want to see him, but he's back there. I turned his filter off for now, so we don't have the water going or nothing like that, so don't have to worry about that. But I took notes today. I figured today we will talk about pond fishing tips and some lures that I got from my grandfather. And that might be a little bit of a sad moment. That one might get me some. My grandfather taught me everything I know about fishing. Like, well, I'm gonna say that. Like, because YouTube's taught me a lot of what I know about fishing, and going out has taught me a lot that I know about fishing, and I grew up when Outdoor Channel was cool. So, well, I won't say cool, but was still a thing. I don't know if it even is anymore. I don't even have cable. But I grew up watching Hank Parker, Bill Dance, all those guys, old guys doing their thing. But one of the guys that I loved the most was Mike Iaconelli, who does have a little bit of an attitude problem. But Mike Iaconelli with his City Limits Fishing. That was one of the things that also kind of intrigued me into doing my own YouTube stuff. But yeah, he would do a lot of crazy stuff trying to catch fish inside city limits. That's why I have my what I call Urban Slam series. That's actually what inspired that series. I only have one video up now. I have a little more footage to make a couple videos. I just haven't made them yet. I'm trying to work on an editing rig and all that good stuff. So haven't done that yet. But anything that I didn't learn from those guys and YouTube and all that stuff, that old grandpa taught me. Well, everything I know about catfishing, he taught me. He was a big catfish fisherman. He did a little bit of striper fishing too, but I never went striper fishing with him. By the time I came around, he was kind of out of striper fishing. I guess he considered it a little more active than he liked. But yeah, like so, I've only got some of them now. I'm gonna save that for a couple videos, but I've got some of them. We'll go through some of those. But yeah, that's gonna be kind of a sad moment for me. So I figured we talk about pond fishing. I see there's one person in the chat. You guys ever, what do you mainly fish? You fish ponds or lakes, or do you fish at all? Some people come in here that don't even fish. They just like the stuff that I do, apparently, which is cool. Gotta get my beer. Good old beer. Like, this was actually my grandfather's shirt. Some jerks have all the luck, and it's got some more down there. So, alright. Well, pond fishing, the biggest thing with pond fishing is, one, you're usually fishing a smaller area. There are also very big ponds, but in general, they're still not as big of a lake as a lake, obviously. So the first thing you want to kind of do is assess something. Smaller ponds are a little easier to assess. On my live today, I was fishing that little hole in the wall, and I mean, like I had said, you could fish the whole thing in 15-20 minutes, and I've already pretty much figured out the hot spots, and it was that right bank with all that shallow just overgrowth, and then the left bank with all of it. The two banks on either side, like, of what was in front of me and behind, like, would have been both in front of me, if you will. They weren't as necessarily the best banks. I've fished them a bunch. I've gotten a couple strikes there, but everything I've caught has mainly been on the right and left banks. One's the shallower bank, one's the deeper bank, and they're either on one or the other. So with pond fishing, that's another thing you want to do. You want to assess what your banks, which one looks like shallower, which one looks quicker, a lot deeper. A lot of the same things go in hand with fishing, as far as the bank lines and checking up things. Like ponds and lakes tend to be the same thing. The only issue is a pond is much smaller, so it's a little easier to figure out that pattern a little quicker. One, two, it's also very easy to fish that pattern out very quickly and have to either A, change it up to a different pattern and see if you can catch something that's biting on a different pattern, or B, head to a new pond. Which is cool about pond fishing. You can always go out and check out new ponds and just keep driving around and doing all that fun stuff. Oh, I got the beer burps already and I've only taken one sip. So, yeah, you want to assess your areas. When you assess your areas, just like I said, you want bass love isolated structure. They're big on isolated structure. I don't know why. I don't even know if anybody knows why. They just tend to like to hang out on us sometimes. So like isolated weed lines, isolated little couple branches coming up. Maybe there's only one dock on the whole thing, or any docks at all. So maybe there's just one little lone point. Just isolated little things like that. Isolated structure, definitely big go-tos. Definitely big go-tos. Another thing for me is, what's the wind blowing at? What's your wind like? Is it hitting hard on a bank? Is it not blowing it at all? Those things will kind of help you some too, because in a pond there's not a lot of bait fish. It's just, no. Ain't a lot of them swimming around. I mean, there can be. You can have really good ponds that have lots of bait fishing. Oof. Those are choice ponds. Those are usually your 7-pounder producers and good stuff like that. Those are the ponds that'll produce the big boys for you. Those are the ponds that produce big boys. Once I got all them little bait fish swimming around, they just like eat them up. Yum, 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 yum. Frogs will help a lot too. If you got a pond with a lot of frogs, then I have a pond with a lot of big fish too. But the problem with the frogs is the frogs are only active one time a year. That's how it was with the little hole in the wall I was fishing earlier today. Hole in the wall, more hole in the ground. Yeah, lakes aren't horizontal. They're kind of vertical. Or, yeah, did that backwards. See, I'm on a roll already. No, horizontal, vertical. So, you guys know what I'm saying. So, yeah, that's what you want to. So you want to check that out. Which way is your wind blowing? Because that's going to push up some bait fish. That's mainly the big thing with wind. I've had a lot of people ask me, what is so big about what the wind-blown bank? Well, the biggest reason wind-blown banks tend to be nicer is because it forces your bait fish in there, and wherever your bait fish are, guaranteed to have some predator fish there. Bass, crappie, whatever you're mainly going for at that time, because crappie are still a bait fish, or a predator fish to a degree. They will still get pretty aggressive. So yeah, like, that's what you're wanting to check out, because man, like, that's important. It's important. Where the bait is where your fish are. And that, hey, maybe that's what the isolated structure. I don't know. I think it's more that they like it because it's an ambush point. That's my thing. I think it's just really good ambush points in general, and that's something that'll really help you in your fishing too. Think like a bass. It's not easy. It's not hard. It's like kind of funny. You just gotta think like a bass. So it's like, can I ambush from that spot? Is that spot deep? Do I think that spot would be cold? Do I think that spot would be warm? Like, just kind of stuff like that really helps you think. And like, so, and then another thing when you're hitting a pond is you're gonna want to go with your moving baits. Like, you're just gonna want to come up right off the bat, throw like a little swim jig, a little swim body, soft plastic Texas rig sometimes will work real good. Flukes, like that you're popping real fast if it's that time of year. Not really letting them sink slow, but just really popping them fast. Chatter baits, really working them. Swimmer baits. Spinner baits. All really good moving baits. You want to start with a moving bait. Trying to really look around, assessing if, once again, if they're in that moving bait activity mood. Once again, fishing a smaller pond, it's much easier to narrow that out on, okay, they're not in the moving bite mood, because once again, smaller ponds, you make casts in 15-20 minutes of throwing around a moving bait. You pretty much covered the whole thing. So that's what really big helps in doing that. Like, I mean, once again, a lake, a moving bait, covered water. It's the same thing with a pond, only once again, you're covering the water that much faster in the fact that there's not as much water to cover. Cheers, guys. That just helps a little. Don't condone that. If you're under 21, nope. Drink responsibly. All that good mess. Apparently they're making disinfectant out of beer. I didn't even know that was possible. So yeah, there's that. Apparently it's not easy either, because I've also seen a couple things where actual breweries have tried doing it and they didn't do it very well. So there's that as well. But like, and then my other life, man, look at my hair. Don't look at my hair. No, don't look at it. I need a haircut. I'm gonna have to make the wife do it. Because I can't go get it done nowhere else. So I'm either gonna shave it, just buzz that mess right off, which I don't think I'm gonna do. I don't think it's gonna look good on me. Or have her do some kind of, not horrible, but not as good haircut. Good thing I like wearing a hat. I can hide it. So yeah, we were talking about ponds. Because there's not a lot of people in here. We've got one person apparently, which, thank you. I appreciate it. Truly appreciate it. I appreciate anybody that supports the channel. We've gone through our moving baits. They haven't worked for us. Or they've worked for us. So the next thing is, we now need to change it up. Gotta change it up. Like I said, when you go through them ponds, you go through them quick, so we gotta change it up. This is why I personally have grown up to like the 3-rod method. Because one, I mean, when you're fishing on a boat, you can have like 15, 20 rods all scattered around, and it's not that big a deal. When you're walking, fishing the bank of a pond, or you're fishing from a kayak or a small john boat, it's not as easy to put 15, 20 rods in a boat with you. So the best thing I've come to like is a 3 to 4 rod setup. Because it's easy to have 3 to 4 rods on a kayak with you, easy to have 3 to 4 rods on a john boat, easy to pick up and carry around 3 to 4 rods, lay them down, pick them back up, and them not get overly tangled up on you, all that good, annoying, nobody wants to hear about it stuff. But the beauty of a 4 is I tend to have a worm rod, my crankbait rod, a topwater rod, because I will work a top water 3/4 of the year, but I live in South Carolina, which helps. In Florida, you can probably do it all year long. I don't know. And I really like topwater bites. They're fun. It's one of my favorite ways to fish. It's a way of fishing that I've kind of learned to master a little better because I just love to do it so much. And one of the things you'll learn when doing topwater fishing is you have to do it a lot. Because if they're on it, and if they're not, they're not. And you can throw and not catch one, and all of a sudden, boom, there he is. So I like always having one on, because anytime I hit those choice spots where I think one's going to work, I'll throw one through there some if I don't get hit, followed up with a worm or a lipless crankbait, something like that. So moving baits really help you in that way. Then the one second. Sorry about that. I'm also got the daughter with me. The wife's at work, and I thought it sounded like she went out the front door. 2 years old, opening deadbolts. Opens the deadbolts, turns the knob up, and these aren't. Look, that's an old door, man. I'm an old house. Those are old doors. They don't open very easy. She just taps some things right open, gets right on out the door. Thought I heard her going out, but she's not going out, so we're good. She's still watching her show. Gave her some dinner, so she's happy. So yeah, it's nice to have the 4 rods because you have the worm, crank, topwater, and a lot of times I like to have 2 more in the fact of that a medium heavy is a good worm rod, but it's also the same rod that you're going to want to use to work a spinner bait or a chatterbait or something like that. And a lot of times I may like to have a square bill on, because a square bill will work really good in a pond because it doesn't super dive. So when you're bank fishing, it's a little easier to get it back up without getting super snagged on stuff on you. And they bounce off of stuff a little easier, so they tend to work really good for ponds. And they give that little wider wobble than a lipless crankbait, and so on and so forth. So, if I'm in the mood to work the square bill and then something else, I can then do a chatterbait, or I can have a big old jig and a worm and try those 2 things in that way. And that's just because in trying to do YouTube now, I've gotten a little more aggressive in trying to catch fish. Back when I just did it leisurely, I would just have 3 rods and I would just quick change the worm to something else if I decided they weren't liking it. And if they were liking it, then I'd keep going, so on and so forth. And having since caught my PB of 7 pounds on a chatterbait, I have really been liking throwing the chatterbait. I've been catching some big ones on the chatterbaits. The lure never really threw that much. And then everybody's boning about it. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna make trying that thing. And I'm glad I did. So it's in the chatterbaits. If you actually watch one, oh man, they get this real just erratic swim going to them. They'll just go, and then all of a sudden kick to a side. Just go, all of a sudden kick to a side. Real bait fishy action. I really like them on that fact. I mean, and then they have the flash of the spinnerbait and the skirt of the spinnerbait and so on and so forth. The only thing the spinnerbait gives you is that just a little bit easier through the weeds than the chatterbait and stuff. So if I'm fishing a weedy area or something, then I'll switch over to chatterbait. All those good tips in that way. Once again, we're just talking about ponds. Anybody have any tips or other things that they want to put in? Great to hear it. If you like to fish ponds, let me know. If you like to fish lakes, let me know. But yeah, it's pretty interesting in that way of doing all that stuff. Because I just like ponds, and sometimes in the fact that they're real easy to just hit a bunch. And I don't have a boat, I have a little kayak. So it's a lot easier to throw a kayak in a pond. I've fished small lakes, and I do like fishing small lakes as well. But even when I fish a small lake, doing it in a kayak, I tend to look at the topographic maps, dissect the areas of the lake, decide, do I want to, if it's a lake that I can put in multiple spots, which most small lakes you still only tend to have one spot to put in, unless you kind of cheat and will try and just kind of park your truck in side spots and launch in those, which I've done from time to time, but it's not something I fully advise because you can get in trouble in some smaller lakes, because some smaller lakes need permits to fish, and even if you've paid for the permits, they want you to go in and out of the boat ramps, because unless you live on the lake, they want to be able to kick you off the lake at a certain time. Mainly just, I think, because they don't have to worry about trying to send emergency rescue people out to you or something like that when they're already closed the gates. And if you live on it, they can't do anything about it. So I think that's really the only reasoning for that. But I do it every now. But I will dissect an area I want to put in. Okay, this area looks like it's going to be more shallow creeks, and we're in the spawny time, so shallowy creeks are going to be a better hit. Let me put there. We'll go straight there. I'm going to fish just this area. If it's not producing for me, I might try to go to the other area deeper or do something like that. But for the most part, if it just doesn't produce for me, I'm going to head out of there, because it will take me so long to dissect that area. Okay, go watch your show. Yeah. I told you guys, I'm watching the baby girl. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. She's so demanding. Children these days. Oh, she's mad at me now. 2 throws fits as well. Wow, I'm gonna have such a handful on my hands. Such a handful, guys. Let's raise you up a little bit. Oh, she's calling me stupid. She's so mean. So mean. So yeah, like, and then like, oh, for in winter, and I know the fish are gonna be deeper, then it's where the deeper holes, judge it, go straight there, fish those areas. Once again, because you're on the kayak, it's gonna take you so long to fish that certain area. Anyways, I don't tend to fish a lot of different areas, so. And because it's the same hand as a pond, even when I fish bigger lakes, I tend to get dissected down into a pond-sized one. So yeah, ponds are fun. I've kind of gone over everything, I think. Let's see. The notes, guys. This is why you take the notes. noted up. We are noted up, guys. Yes, we are. We are noted up. So, we talked about earlier today when we were fishing a tornado. That was fun. The tornado never hit. Like I said, the tornado never hit, guys. So we're good there because the tornado never hit. We're alive. It did get super windy. Anybody watches that stream, the phone went right on your face. You guys face planted. Wow!
I got poopy.
No, you don't.
No, I got poop.
Then go on the potty. Yeah, that's why you got one. Uh-uh.
Hey!
She's yelling at me. What? Okay, guys. This is the hard parts about doing a live when your wife's at work. She should have been home by now. She must be having a good day. Give me 2 seconds, guys. Come on, real quick. Come on. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Do we still... Oh, still says 1. I don't know if to hear or not. Okay. So we talked about... Careful, girl. Talked about all of that. She's gonna knock you guys over, I swear. Okay. Sorry about all that. I really, really am sorry about all that. Thank you for whoever is here still sticking through. Okay. So yeah, that's a lot of fun in all of that, and that's the things with the kayaks and stuff like that. Your poles, your baits that are best, square bills, spinner baits, small blades. Oh my gosh, guys, the blades. I will kill with blades. I kill with the blades. I kill with them. And the lipless crankbaits. I kill with lipless crankbaits a lot. And small baits. They're really great lures. And it looks like we're going to have to cut this stream short. Because in dealing with my daughter and no wife, I don't know if I'm going to continue. Because she can't. Okay, so now they're gone. So now we can continue. Another good thing is overhanging trees. In ponds, overhanging trees are a little better a lot of times because that is a very good place for food. So we stop. That's a very good place for them to get food because stuff falls out of the trees. Fish drop food. It produces shade and shadow lines, which are good strike points. Like I said, always think about a fish and its points of ambush. Having said all of that, you guys take it easy. Life's a story. This is going to have to be a short stream because once again, in that life being a story and having kids, life doesn't always go as planned. And I have no wife, a 2-year-old chasing my dog around. and screaming so that you guys can't hear me.
Sorry,
Life's a story.
Daddy.
Live it.
Sorry.
Have fun. You can tell I'm living it. I get to have the fun of Joy and dealing with her now because we can't continue to stream because she's just not going to hush now.
Sorry, Daddy.
Later, guys.
Sorry. Sorry, Daddy. Sorry, Daddy.